Can't even speak. What? I got your gun.
Fans have spent countless hours exploring the vast universe of Star Trek. Yet somehow, many hidden details have gone completely unnoticed. For more than 50 years, Star Trek has built an incredible legacy, introducing some of the most iconic characters in pop culture, while quietly hiding fascinating secrets behind the scenes. In this video, we're uncovering 15 incredible details that reveal the genius behind the franchise. You'll discover how many of Star Trek's most iconic elements weren't planned, but were actually created out of necessity. So get ready, because these hidden details have been right in front of us all along. Let's begin. Scotty's missing finger. One of the most emotional and overlooked details in Star Trek involves Chief Engineer Montgomery Scotty Scott. Most viewers never noticed, but Scotty was missing a finger. The actor behind the character, James Doohan, carried a real-life war injury that he carefully hid throughout the series. Before stepping aboard the Enterprise, Doohan served as a lieutenant in the Royal Canadian Artillery during World War II. On D-Day, June 6, 1944, he led his troops across Juno Beach during the Normandy invasion. In the chaos of battle, he was hit by 6 bullets, 4 in his leg, 1 through his chest, and 1 that took his right middle finger. The shot to his chest could have been fatal, but a silver cigarette case in his pocket deflected the bullet and saved his life. His bravery earned him honors, but also left permanent scars. So how did Star Trek hide this detail? Throughout filming, Doohan mostly used his left hand or kept his right hand partially closed. Camera angles were carefully chosen to avoid revealing the missing finger, and in close-up shots, hand doubles were sometimes used to maintain the illusion. It was a subtle trick, so effective that most fans never noticed it at all. You thought you knew everything about Star Trek, but there are details hiding in plain sight. Even the biggest fans miss them. And we're just getting started. Whiskey bottles as alien props. Recycled whiskey bottles. At first glance, the elegant alien drink containers in Star Trek look completely futuristic. But if you look closely, you might recognize something surprisingly familiar. They're actually just whiskey bottles. Throughout the original series, prop designers cleverly reused everyday objects, transforming them into alien artifacts. One of the most iconic examples is the Saurian brandy bottle. That unusual, curved design, it originally came from a 1964 George Dickel Tennessee whiskey bottle. With only minor modifications, it became one of the most recognizable props in the series. Today, those original bottles are rare collector's items, especially sealed versions. But this wasn't the only trick. Salt shakers were turned into medical devices. Household items became futuristic tools, and packaging materials were transformed into control panels. Because with limited budgets and tight schedules, creativity wasn't optional. It was necessary. Shatner versus Nimoy font size feud. The font size feud, behind the iconic opening credits of Star Trek. There was a surprisingly intense rivalry. William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy fought over font size. Yes, font size. Hidden within their contracts was a very specific rule. Nimoy's name had to appear at least 75% the size of Shatner's. This wasn't just a random detail. It reflected careful negotiations about status and recognition. Starting early in the series, the credits were adjusted to meet this requirement. Even small changes in typography became part of a much bigger power dynamic. And this tension didn't end with the show. It continued into films, influencing roles, decisions, and even directing opportunities. A tiny detail on screen revealed a much bigger story behind it. Bubble wrap as Klingon armor. Klingon armor. Klingon warriors looked fierce, intimidating, and completely alien. But part of their armor was made from bubble wrap. Yes, bubble wrap. In the episode Errand of Mercy, pieces of packaging material were painted and used as costume elements. Once styled and colored, it looked nothing like its original form. And surprisingly, this wasn't just about saving money. Costume designer Bill Tice intentionally used unusual materials to create something unfamiliar and otherworldly. By taking everyday objects out of context, He created designs that felt truly alien, and it worked so well that fans didn't recognize it for decades. Ping Pong Ball Starship. The Ping Pong Ball Starship, one of the first alien ships ever seen in Star Trek, looked massive, mysterious, and advanced. But in reality, it was built using ping pong balls. The ship, known as a Phasarius, appeared in the Corbomite maneuver. Its design was surprisingly simple: a spherical structure covered with cut ping pong balls. Lighting effects were added to make it appear alive, giving it a pulsing, alien energy. Despite its simplicity, it became one of the most memorable early designs in the franchise. Years later, when the series was remastered, visual artists recreated the ship using CGI, but stayed true to the original look. Even today, fans debate the exact materials used. But one thing is certain: this design proves that creativity can turn the simplest objects into something unforgettable. James R. Kirk Tombstone Error. James R. Kirk Tombstone Error, one of the earliest and most surprising continuity mistakes in Star Trek, appears in a place you'd never expect: a tombstone. In the episode Where No Man Has Gone Before, something strange happens. Lieutenant Commander Gary Mitchell, after gaining immense psychic powers, creates a grave for Captain Kirk. But here's the problem: the tombstone reads James R. Kirk. Fans immediately noticed something was off, because throughout the entire series, Kirk's real name is James T. Kirk, with a T standing for Tiberius. So where did the R come from? Interestingly, the mistake was never corrected, not even in remastered versions. Instead, Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry gave a simple in-universe explanation. Mitchell had godlike powers, but he was still human, and humans make mistakes. A clever fix for a very visible error. Rear projection starfield trick. Rear projection starfield trick. The vast, endless space surrounding the Enterprise looked incredibly real for its time, but the truth behind it is surprisingly simple. The iconic starfield effect wasn't created with computers. It was all done manually using clever techniques. The team used an optical printer to layer multiple images together. They started with a simple background, a sheet filled with painted stars. Then they filmed it multiple times, moving the image in different directions, left, right, up, and down, at varying speeds. When these layers were combined, it created the illusion of motion and depth, making it look like the Enterprise was flying through space. For static stars, they punched tiny holes into black sheets and placed lights behind them. It was time-consuming, detailed work, sometimes taking an entire day just to film a single shot. But the result? A believable universe that captured audiences for decades. Flipped Enterprise shot to hide Earth. Believe it or not, the USS Enterprise didn't always fly the way you think it did. In some scenes, the ship was actually shown backwards, but almost no one noticed. This wasn't a mistake, it was a clever trick. Sometimes, during filming, unwanted elements like Earth or background inconsistencies would appear in a shot, instead of reshooting, which cost time and money. The production team simply flipped the footage horizontally. Problem solved almost. While this removed the unwanted background, it created a new issue. Everything became mirrored. That meant the ship's famous registration number, NCC 1701, appeared backwards. Casual viewers never caught it, but hardcore fans eventually did. In certain scenes, especially docking shots, you can clearly spot the reverse lettering if you look closely. Once you notice it, it's impossible to ignore. Starfleet insignia wasn't always universal. That iconic arrowhead badge worn by Captain Kirk? It wasn't always the symbol of all Starfleet. In the original series, it actually represented only the crew of the Enterprise. Other ships had completely different insignias. For example, the USS Exeter crew wore a circular emblem with a spike through it. The USS Defiant used a hollow delta design. Even Starbase engineers had their own unique symbols. Most viewers never notice these small details, but there's a reason behind it. Creator Gene Roddenberry drew inspiration from real-world military traditions, where each unit has its own insignia. Later, after the Enterprise's legendary missions, Starfleet adopted the arrowhead as the official symbol for everyone, turning it into a universal emblem, a small detail that became a legacy. Mayberry backlit reuse. Here's something you probably never expected. Star Trek and a small-town sitcom share the exact same set. The peaceful town of Mayberry from the Andy Griffith Show was reused as alien worlds and historical settings in Star Trek. In episodes like Miri, it becomes an eerie abandoned city filled with children. And in The City on the Edge of Forever, it transforms into 1930s New York. If you pay close attention, you can even spot familiar places like Floyd's Barbershop, the courthouse, and the Mayberry Hotel. They didn't build new sets. They simply redesigned what they already had. This was a smart way to save money while still creating diverse environments. Different stories, same streets. GNDN Pipes joke. Hidden throughout the USS Enterprise are mysterious labels on pipes that most viewers completely ignore. They read, GNDN. Sounds technical, right? But it actually stands for something hilarious. Goes nowhere, does nothing. Yes, it was an inside joke by the production team. These pipes weren't functional at all. They were just decorative set pieces meant to make the ship look more complex and realistic. Instead of leaving them blank, the crew gave them fake labels and turned it into a running joke. Over time, these GNDN pipes became part of Star Trek lore, even appearing in later series as a tribute to the original team. A tiny detail with a big personality. Boom mic cameo. Boom mic cameo in Charlie X. Even the most dedicated Star Trek fans can miss this one, an unexpected guest appearance by a piece of filming equipment. In the episode Charlie X, a boom microphone accidentally makes its way into the final cut. During a scene where Charlie approaches Yeoman Rand, the mic can clearly be seen dipping into the bottom of the frame, and it doesn't just appear for a split second. It lingers across multiple shots. How did something like this slip through? Back in the 1960s, editing tools weren't nearly as advanced as they are today. Once footage was filmed, fixing mistakes like this was difficult and expensive. And this wasn't the only issue. In the same episode, you can spot floor markers used by actors, and even tape indicators showing where characters were supposed to stand. But instead of ruining the experience, these mistakes became part of the charm. For many fans, spotting these little errors is like discovering hidden Easter eggs, proof of the human effort behind the sci-fi illusion. Visible set rigging. In one of the earliest episodes, where no man has gone before, the illusion of a futuristic world briefly falls apart. If you know where to look. During scenes set on Delta Vega, parts of the actual filming setup become visible. Lighting, rigs, metal supports. Even cables could be seen in the background during wide shots. These weren't meant to be seen, of course, but due to tight budgets and fast production schedules, some of these elements slipped into the final version. For modern audiences, this might seem like a major flaw, but for longtime fans, it's something else entirely. It shows just how much creativity and determination went into building the Star Trek universe, even with limited resources. Sometimes, seeing behind the curtain makes you appreciate the magic even more. Shuttle set glitch. Shuttle set glitch in the Galileo 7. The episode The Galileo 7 is filled with tension, survival, and leadership challenges, but also contains some surprisingly visible production mistakes. At certain moments, the edges of the shuttlecraft set become visible, revealing the studio behind the illusion. In one scene, when Spock moves toward the back of the shuttle, you can actually see where the set ends. In another, the blue backdrop used to simulate the outside environment becomes clearly visible through the doorway. And it doesn't stop there. When spears hit the surrounding rocks, the surface wobbles, revealing that it's actually lightweight material like styrofoam. In one moment, pieces even break off and scatter. These small glitches remind us of the limitations of practical effects at the time. Yet somehow, the story still works. Because the focus was never just on the visuals. It was always about the characters and the ideas. Unpainted set in Errand of Mercy. At the very top of our list is a detail so subtle, yet so revealing, that most viewers never notice it. In Errand of Mercy, sharp-eyed fans can spot parts of set that were never fully finished. During intense scenes, pieces of raw, unpainted wood are visible in the background. In one moment, you can even see a crash mat used to protect an actor during a fall. These weren't meant to be seen, but they made it into the final episode anyway. And yet, it didn't ruin the experience. In fact, it highlights something important. Star Trek didn't rely on massive budgets or perfect visuals. It relied on imagination. The minimalist sets forced viewers to focus on the story, the characters, and the ideas, creating a universe that felt far bigger than what was actually on screen. And with that, we've reached the end of our journey through Star Trek's hidden details. From clever tricks and budget-saving hacks to hilarious mistakes and behind-the-scenes secrets, these moments prove that even the most iconic shows have stories hiding beneath the surface. So, the next time you watch Star Trek, look a little closer. You might just spot something you've never seen before. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating content. And be sure to check out the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.